Hello, students. Today we're going to talk about style and applying a formal style to your literary analysis essays. Let's begin with our learning objective for this skill lesson. Our objective is, after reading and discussing a model of student writing, students will edit their revisions by adding or revising to maintain a formal style and objective tone. We'll talk a little bit more about what a formal style and objective tone look like as we go through this. So going through your tasks, there is no concept definition video on tab 1, so you don't need to worry about watching that. But let's go ahead and go through the basic definition here. So style is the way that a writer uses language to express ideas and convey information. It's revealed through the writer's choice of words and sentence construction. Style also means being aware of the rules for writing standard English. This is grammar, guys. So let's just, to help you understand this a little bit more, let's just jump to a question. How do narrators speak in documentary films? And how is that different from the way that someone speaks in a fictional movie? In my experience, watching documentary films, narrators are usually pretty polished and professional and speak in a pretty formal style, as opposed to most movies where when there's conversations between characters and dialogue, it's usually fairly casual and uses a lot of slang, and it's more believable and realistic because they talk more like regular people talk. In documentaries, not so much. They don't talk like regular people talk, and that's what we're talking about here in academic writing, which is more formal, versus like narrative writing, which is more creative and more casual. All right, let's get back to the task list here. Once you've finished reading through the definition, then go ahead and click over on the vocabulary tab and do the drag and drops for these terms here so that you know that you're familiar with them. After that, let's go over to the model page here. The top half contains a checklist that you'll want to use to go through your own revised essay. I am going to touch on a few of these points here. So one of the things you're going to want to look for is any slang terms in your essay, or what we call colloquialisms. And I'll show you an example in a second. But you want to remove any real casual language or slang from your academic essay. Also, things like contractions or abbreviations. A contraction is a word like don't. Instead of saying don't, you'd want to say do not or does not. Contractions just are less formal, so you don't want to use them in academic writing. Same thing with like abbreviating somebody's name or having just a conversational tone in your writing. All right, another thing I want to point out is the use of first person or second person. You really don't want the word I or you anywhere in your essay, at least from your own writing. And I'll show some examples of that in a little bit here. Formal writing is usually third person. So you'd want to use words like they or he or she or them instead of I or you. Statements that express judgment or emotion. You don't want to have too much of your own opinions or bias in your essay. Rather, you want to maintain an objective tone that relies on facts and evidence. So you want to keep your own sort of opinions and bias out of it, and you want to try to rely more on the evidence that you've selected and explaining how the evidence supports the case that you're making or the claim that you're making. As a general rule for academic writing and formal writing, you as an author should be more in the background, and it should be your arguments and the evidence and the explanations that are really in the foreground of your essay. All right, and then finally, look for incorrect uses of conventions of standard English for grammar, spelling, capitalization, and punctuation. I laugh a little bit because, living in the day and age of texting and stuff, we've kind of thrown a lot of grammar rules out the window, and that's understandable. When you're texting somebody, it is informal, it's casual, so you don't need to use a lot of formal style. But you need to know your audience and your purpose for writing. And in the case of an academic essay, you are writing for a specific audience and for a specific purpose. And so you need to follow the rules of formal writing, which includes good grammar, capitalization, punctuation, things like that. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the student model here. We're looking at Caroline's essay again. And what we're going to do is go through this was a paragraph that she selected from her revised essay, and we're going to go through and look for areas where she can make it more formal in the tone by the wording that she's using. So let's just read this together. Incian names them A Cool Story by Ursula K. Le Guin. Let's stop there for a second. A cool story. That is slang. That is what we call a colloquialism. It's hard to pronounce that word. You don't need it. When it comes to formal writing, just don't have stuff like that in there. Eve shows how powerful a name is even when it doesn't fit its owner. So doesn't is an example of a contraction. You want to get rid of that and just write even when it does not fit its owner. She explains that most of the animals never cared about the names Adam had given them. Yet, some of the animals, especially pets and yaks, debate whether or not to keep their names. By unnaming the animals, Eve feels an unexpected, powerful effect. So she put the word powerful in quotation marks, and I'm not sure if that's because she's quoting the original text or if this is because she's trying to emphasize the word powerful. As a general rule for academic writing, if you want to emphasize a word, put it in italics or italicize it as opposed to using quotes. Don't use quotes unless you're actually quoting something. All right. She feels closer to, but also more afraid of the animals. Then she realizes that she could not now, in all conscience, make an exception for herself. And you see how the word herself is in brackets here? What that indicates is that it didn't say herself in the original quote, but the Caroline changed it to herself because it fit better with the sentence. And so it's okay to do that. It's okay to modify the original quote a little bit as long as you put brackets around it so that the reader knows that you changed it. Okay, so she must give up her own name, not wanting to seem ungrateful. She gives her name back to Adam. She tells him that another contraction. That should be it has been really useful, but doesn't exactly seem to fit very well lately. All right, so there's another contraction here, but we can't change this one because it's in a quote. So that's the only exception to the rule. If there is a contraction in an original quote, then you leave it be because it wasn't your writing to begin with. Adam doesn't seem to be listening. See, but this contraction can be changed because this is Caroline's writing. That should be changed to Adam does not seem to be listening. That should be changed to it is possible that Adam does not understand the power of words, probably because he is the one who gave Eve and the animals their names. Eve, however, now understands the power of language. As she leaves the garden, she realizes that her words must be as slow, as new, as single, as tentative as the steps I took. So I told you, do not have I anywhere in your essay, but this is another exception to that rule because it's in a quote. So you don't want to change that because this is what the author originally wrote. But then she starts her last sentence with, I think language is powerful. In this case, you can drop the I think and just begin the sentence with the word language. I think is conversational tone, not formal tone. So just drop that, capitalize the L in language, and just run with language is powerful. And the author confirms this idea by implying that Eve plans to use it carefully from now on. Okay, I think those are the main things that I caught that she should probably change. So you can read her revision down below, and I think that she changed most of those. So you can take a look at that. When you're finished with that, then jump over to tab 4 and do the multiple choice questions and check your own answers on that. And then under the right tab, tab 5, you're going to pick a paragraph out of your own essay, copy and paste it into here, and apply all those rules that I just went through. You're going to want to eliminate contractions. You're going to want to eliminate any use of I unless it's in a quote, or you. You're going to want to make sure there's no slang in there. You're going to want to make sure that you don't have your own bias or, personal feelings showing too much, that you maintain an objective tone through it, and just polish it and make it more professional and formal. And then definitely check your capitalizations and your punctuation and your grammar, and clean up the paragraph and submit it. This is not going to go on your final grade, but this is a good exercise for you to use for your final revisions on the essay that you will be submitting pretty soon. As always, if you need any help from me, if you get lost, please come talk to me. I'm more than happy to help you out.